Have you ever met someone who just seems to miss every chance to learn, grow, or even ask a simple question? Today, we're diving into a provocative topic: 6 signs of a stupid person. But before you jump to conclusions or label someone entirely, remember, this is all in good fun and meant to help us reflect on our own habits, not to shame anyone. So buckle up as we explore these quirky, eye-opening behaviors and learn a thing or two about ourselves in the process. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're dissecting 6 signs that might suggest someone is not using their full intellectual horsepower, at least in certain situations. And no, we're not here to call anyone names or be mean-spirited. Instead, think of this as a fun, tongue-in-cheek exploration of behavior patterns that can hold people back. Now, let's be clear. Intelligence isn't a one-size-fits-all quality. Everyone has strengths and areas for improvement, so while these signs might hint at a certain type of behavior, they don't paint the full picture of a person's value or potential. With that said, let's get started. Sign number 1 is a complete lack of curiosity. Think about it, one of the hallmarks of a vibrant, inquisitive mind is the constant quest for knowledge. When you encounter someone who never asks why or how, it might be a red flag that they're not engaging with the world around them as deeply as they could. Imagine a person who hears about a new technology or a breakthrough in science and simply shrugs it off, saying, "It's just another gadget," without ever bothering to learn what problem it could solve or how it might change the world. This indifference can be more than just a personality quirk. It can indicate a reluctance to challenge their own assumptions and, ultimately, a barrier to growth. But hey, we've all been there at times, right? We sometimes get comfortable with the status quo. Still, if you notice someone consistently shutting down new ideas or refusing to ask questions, it might just be the first sign of what we're talking about today. So take a moment. Have you ever encountered someone who simply refuses to dig deeper, even when a simple question could open up an entirely new world of possibilities? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your stories. Moving on to sign number 2, an inability to learn from mistakes. We all make errors, it's a natural part of life. But what separates truly smart people from those who might not be is their willingness to reflect on mistakes and adjust accordingly. Picture a friend who repeatedly makes the same error. They try a new approach, fail, and then insist that nothing was wrong with the plan in the first place. They never take a step back to analyze what went wrong, and as a result, they end up stuck in a cycle of repeated failures. This behavior, often fueled by stubbornness or sheer ignorance of self-improvement techniques, can be a clear indicator of a lack of critical thinking. Consider the story of a young professional who keeps using the same flawed strategy at work. Despite colleagues offering constructive criticism, they double down on their approach until it leads to a major setback. It's frustrating to watch, isn't it? Yet it serves as a reminder that if we don't take the time to learn and adapt, we're doomed to repeat our errors. If you've ever felt stuck in a loop of making the same mistakes or seen someone else in that predicament, you know how damaging it can be. Learning from failure isn't just about avoiding embarrassment. It's a crucial part of growing and becoming smarter in the long run. Have you experienced a moment where a mistake turned into a major learning opportunity? Share your thoughts in the comments. Sign number 3 is oversimplified thinking, and this one is all too common in our fast-paced, information-overloaded world. Oversimplification might seem appealing at first. After all, simple answers are easy to digest. But when it comes to complex issues, reducing everything to black and white can lead to a host of problems. Imagine scrolling through social media and seeing a heated debate on a complicated political issue where some people have boiled down the problem to just 2 sides, right and wrong, without any recognition of the gray areas in between. It's like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle with only a few pieces. You might get a rough idea of what the picture looks like, but you're missing all the nuances that make it truly complete. Oversimplified thinking prevents us from seeing the full spectrum of an issue, and in doing so, we miss out on valuable insights. Have you ever been in a debate or discussion where someone's simplistic take on a complex issue left you scratching your head? Let me know in the comments how that played out, and whether you manage to steer the conversation toward a deeper understanding. Now for sign number 4, overconfidence without competence. This is where the infamous Dunning-Kruger effect comes into play, that phenomenon where individuals with limited knowledge in a particular area overestimate their understanding or abilities. Think of that person who's always the first to give advice on every topic, from finance to cooking, despite clearly lacking the background to back up their claims. They speak with an air of authority that's completely disconnected from their actual competence. And while confidence is admirable when paired with real knowledge, overconfidence without substance can be downright dangerous. Consider the scenario of a person making bold decisions at work without any real data or experience to support their choices, where their inflated sense of self leads to poor decisions that affect not just themselves, but those around them. It's a classic case of knowing just enough to be dangerous, but not enough to actually be helpful. Have you ever encountered someone who always seems to have the answers, even when they clearly don't? Share your encounters in the comments, and let's see if we can all agree on the importance of balancing confidence with real skill and knowledge. Sign number 5 is the tendency to rely on stereotypes and generalizations. While it might seem like a shortcut to understanding complex people or situations, this kind of thinking often ends up doing more harm than good. When someone leans too heavily on stereotypes, they're missing out on the rich, individual details that make each person unique. It's like trying to understand a novel by reading just the back cover. Relying on generalizations not only limits one's perspective, but can also lead to unfair judgments and misunderstandings. For instance, if you assume that all people from a certain background behave a certain way, you close yourself off to the possibility of discovering the amazing diversity and complexity that exists within that group. This sign isn't just about lacking intelligence, it's about a missed opportunity to truly understand the world around us. Have you ever challenged a stereotype that you once believed in? How did that change your perspective? Let me know your stories in the comments. They might just inspire someone else to think a bit deeper. And finally, sign number 6, poor problem-solving skills. Being able to break down a problem and tackle it step by step is a fundamental aspect of critical thinking. Yet many people struggle with this, often choosing to ignore the problem altogether or attempting to solve it with a one-size-fits-all solution. Picture this: a person faces a complex challenge at work or in their personal life, and instead of analyzing the situation, considering different strategies, and learning from past experiences, they resort to a quick fix that barely scratches the surface of the problem. More often than not, this approach only makes the situation worse in the long run. Good problem solving isn't about having all the answers immediately. It's about the process of exploration, evaluation, and persistence. When we encounter difficulties, the real growth happens by working through them methodically, breaking the problem down, understanding its various components, and being willing to try multiple solutions until something sticks. If you're someone who prides yourself on your problem-solving skills, give yourself a mental high five right now. And if you've ever been frustrated by a problem that just wouldn't budge, you know exactly how critical it is to approach challenges with both creativity and persistence. What's one problem you solved by changing your approach? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Let's take a moment to recap what we've covered today. We started with a lack of curiosity, that absence of that spark to ask questions and seek knowledge. We then looked at the inability to learn from mistakes, a habit that traps people in a cycle of repeated errors. We explored the pitfalls of oversimplified thinking, and we examined the dangers of overconfidence without real competence. We also discussed how relying on stereotypes and generalizations can limit our understanding of the world. And finally, we highlighted poor problem-solving skills, a key indicator of someone who isn't engaging with challenges in a meaningful way. Before you go, remember, these signs are not an exhaustive measure of someone's intelligence, nor should they be used to harshly judge anyone's character. Instead, think of them as reminders of the habits we can all work on improving in our own lives. After all, the journey to becoming smarter isn't about avoiding mistakes entirely. It's about learning from every experience, questioning the status quo, and continuously challenging ourselves to grow. If you found this video insightful or even a bit provocative, please hit that like button and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. And don't forget to share your experiences. What's the most surprising sign you've encountered, or even a moment when you recognize these behaviors in yourself?